to the Universal Ones Artist Collective. I am your host, Buddy James. Please don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. And always, if you like our content, hit that bell because that's how we get seen. Thank you again. Enjoy the episode.
So I got to read. I got to read up on it. This was just this morning. That I put it
That's
on.
X-rays. X-ray.
Yeah, X-ray. It's the spherical a satellite scan of the sky.
Some serious interconnectivity.
Yeah, and the nodal points are like they're talking dodecahedron to me. I have to see it though. I have to put it up and put it in the sphere and see. So
Are those stars or galaxies, clusters?
they're nodes. Let's see here. We get the names of them here. Yeah, sextant, the pulsars, the pulsars.
Pulsars. Okay.
Yeah, binary star. But
Active
these are the big. These must be the big ones. But pulsar, this is where you start getting. And Claridge goes this direction, which I like, but it's like you start looking at it biologically.
Yeah, like a neural network.
Yeah. So anyway, well, that's on the table, for today.
Well, Eugene's going to talk about that. That's going to be interesting.
He just put it up. He just like I said, just put it up. So nicer night moves. So yeah, I'm kind of running around these days a bit. So well, is there any other topics we'd like to cover? I know these are very informal and kind of like shooting from the hip a bit, but
I was going to ask about the thing that you put up. Is that Terrence? Was that his work? The same fella?
What's that?
You post something about Terrence. What was that? You posted. Yeah, it was a few days ago, I guess.
Oh, in the TBD thing?
It might have been under EU meetup. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been working with him pretty closely over the last month, and it's been really interesting. So
it was some type of video that I don't know whether it was his. Terrence Howard, maybe. Okay.
Speak of the devil, I got to take this call. So I'm going to sign off for a second. I'll come back in.
Well, who's left? James and Buddy? I believe I was with you guys the other day. Oh, there's Ito.
Yeah, me too. I got to run too.
Looks like round two.
I got to finish my food here and then talk to Jan still.
All right. Well, good talking with you, Ito.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to talk a little bit more about geology, I think, there, Bruce.
I would like to go through, like I did with James the other day. He brought up your SAM model and started slapping stuff together, and I wouldn't mind looking at how the rare earth elements and some of those things are built, and maybe we could look at the geometry of that, figure out.
For sure, yeah. Love to.
What do you think, James? You were showing me some pretty cool stuff the other day.
Yeah. That to me is still one of the big puzzles is that this SAM builds the same, whether it's a small atom or a big atom. So it's really hard to understand why we get such a diversity in elements still, even having the structure for the atom. It's just, and I think about conventional chemistry where they don't have a structure for the nucleus. They're entirely reliant on the orbitals, the 1s, the 2p, all that. So they even have a less of a, to me, picture of why elements could be different.
Could you bring up one of the rare earths on your model online? I guess is that your website you were showing me last time?
Yeah, I'll show you. They're called the lanthanides or lanthanums.
Is that in a certain order?
It's one of the rows that's below the periodic table. You know how they break out the two separate rows?
Oh, it's even further down.
And then there's two more that aren't part of that row. Let me I'm getting there. It's taking me a second. I go here.
Yeah, share your screen.
Here.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
There's no excuse.
Oh, I know.
I almost spaced on it today, so, so we made it. We got together.
Nice.
So the periodic table here.
Yeah,
You
the
see
rare
this
earths
guy?
are on the bottom.
This whole row down here, the lanthanums, this entire row of 15 elements are the rare earths.
Okay.
Oh. And so they really don't look that much different, than the other elements. They're just they're really stretched out, though, aren't they, Ida?
They are elongated, if you will. Yeah.
Is that why you think they're rare? Is because of the structure is harder to create, maybe, or?
I honestly don't know yet. Well, as I said, they're not that rare.
They're not that rare. Okay.
There's neodymium, which is the super strong magnets that the little spheres that we use for building atoms.
That's
But they're, weird names: promethium, praseodymium, cerium. You've heard of cerium.
well, not really.
Europium, gadolinium,
I heard
terbium,
I heard of
Isn't it
Americium,
or Americium?
holmium, erbium, thulium, ytterbium, and lutetium. So there you go. All I really know in that list is neodymium and cerium.
I'd heard of unobtainium, but that's
Unobtainium.
But you can see it is a long, according to Sam, it is a stretched out atom.
So where in that would be what they would call the helix for the tetrahedral helix. In other words, it's got a helix in it. I can see somehow.
Yeah.
The tetrahelix is the first structure that you could make. I know David knows all about it, but it's a little bit different. It's not a tetrahelix, but it's an icosa helix. And the icosa is not really it's doubling constantly. So in the center is your central nuclet, your central nugget, your central icosahedron in white. And where the pink, that's the first one. It's dark gray now. And then it doubles, meaning you can add 2 of those, and on that one you can add 2 of more. So you get 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And that's your fractal growth. But it works with icosahedrons and not with tetrahedrons. So tetrahedrons is basically the alpha particle model that everybody talks about, and it's more or less the only model that's out there that deals with structure and is accepted as well, because radioactive isotopes emit helium alpha particles. There you go.
So yeah, because I was just going through that. I just took a test on that yesterday, and I was just going to ask you that about the alpha particle and how does that refer to in the SAM model?
So the alpha particle model is simply a helium.
Right. And that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, but we call it an alpha particle model when it is emitted from the nucleus because it has high speed. Eugene could talk more about that, the energetic values and whatnot. But it does that because it tends to lack the outer electrons when it's emitted, something like that. So then it's an alpha particle.
Right.
But for the rest, it's simply a helium, and it's emitted from the nucleus. Now, if you understand, that's an observation, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what the whole scientific field runs with, if you will, for a long time already. And that was the birth of the alpha particle model. So what did they say? And this is like long ago already, decades and decades and decades ago. Discussed in the Solvay conference even. Alpha particle model, meaning we stick a bunch of helium nuclei together. We are trying to find out how that might be structured. They could not because it failed. And to this day, people are trying to do that. But it's an error to think that it's sticking helium-4 like a sphere again, right? This helium-4 is now a sphere again, and just stick spheres again together. So what do you come up with? I have a tetrahedron. Think of the tetrahedron as a ball. Make another tetrahedron. So this tetrahedron would already have 4 tetrahedrons, i.e. 4 alpha particle models, and that would be a bigger tetrahedron. But you run into the problem and the diversity of the periodic table. You do not get it. So nobody solved it. My proposal is the SAM structure. It solves all the problems and it follows all the correlations. And there you go. So it's just an alpha particle.
What I was trying to understand with Ito was about this tetrahedral helix. In other words, the fire element has the your tetrahedron. If you chain them together, you can create a helix with a tetrahedron, right? That's all.
Yes, but unstable. Yes, you can, but it would be unstable.
Creates an interesting dipole. Yeah, it may be unstable. I don't.
It makes it's an interesting linear, like it makes a directly linear pathway. That's an interesting aspect of it. But and then it doesn't repeat rotationally. And then just as far as like interesting synchronicities, someone who I haven't heard from for a long time emailed me yesterday. As Joe Matto, who's part of he's one of the patrons of Thunderbolts, and he's an architect in Connecticut, and he's showing some significant enthusiasm, it sounds like, so, of what's going on. So this is a positive. Anyway, he's an expert in geometry, and he went to Pratt, and he's an architect. And blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this is just a little side note.
Yeah, so the only thing where SAM deviates from the rest of anything else is if you put 2 helium alpha particles together, you cannot do that unpunished, because is it structurally strong? How are you going to fit them together? If you try, especially with magnets, they will punish you severely. They will tell you, I'm not going to dig that. I don't like it. They will reform and reshape. And if you do that, you do actually get the physics that we know about, i.e. A beryllium-8 will decay into alpha particles right, to helium-4s. And we're trying to do the reversed thing in order to achieve all the fusion power, but that's another story. But the whole geometry works. But you got to understand that the thing morphs, because you cannot simply, without punishment, move or add a positive/negative particle there. I mean, the thing will react, it will respond. And that's the morphing of the system. So the system starts to morph, and that's what you can see in the third element, lithium. And you can see that the center, there's a little bit of space there. Otherwise, it would be perfect tetrahedrons, intertwined tetrahedrons. I'm hoping that everybody can see that there are tetrahedrons there. And it makes a ring of tetrahedrons. But the center, the yellow and the red, are pulled apart just a tiny little bit, meaning the geometry is broken. It morphed. And that little geometry breaking, that little distortion, that little morphing, actually is translated into binding energy. And that's another fascinating
There's like a spring tension in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Wound up.
This is the Procrustean fifth, and then that opens up again into our window down into the fee stuff. As you know, this is another one that's like where there's a window of something significant there.
No.
Those tetrahedrons.
It also reminds me of tensegrity as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or a tensegral structure.
Repeat that, please, buddy.
It's when you take those.
It reminds me of tensegral structure. Buckminster Fuller came up with it and it's that basically spring type of action that you're talking about in your manifold, or your what the molecule that you're showing here.
It's with it because of the tetrahedrons. Those they're not made of equilateral triangles ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the, so there's an energy imbalance, if you could argue, that causes a tension. That's tensegrity.
Yeah, so the top and the bottom one in the center, if you will, where you see them in the center now, the yellow and the red below it, they're top bottom and they're separated just a tiny little bit. But that's not the preferred state. I mean, every tetrahedron around that central axis, right? So you're the central, the yellow and the red on the bottom, and then the two red on the side. That's a tetrahedron. Yeah, exactly. That's a tetrahedron. And if you rotate, you get another one. So you get like 5 tetrahedrons intertwined into each other. Mm-hmm. But of course, tetrahedron is, like you said, perfect, meaning all sides are even and everything is even. But the center is pulled apart a little bit. The distortion is in the center, by the way. And that distortion equates energy values as well. That's the key thing here. So you can literally see that more distance between the, if they are that, electrostatical particles, that more distance immediately translates energy-wise, which you would expect. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, the thing morphs, and this is geometry. It's 3D.
So this is
look great. Looks great.
This is Norman Cook's model of the atom, and he's got the tetrahedron over here for helium, but now he's trying to put tetrahedrons together, and you end up with, this is all tetrahedrons, this green one here. But what he does is he layers neutrons and protons in different, and to me, and it's still a layered structure. This is still, it's based on the number 4. It's the square.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not according to Sam. That's one of our rules, is that this is not a strong structure. It's not stable yet. There's places where atoms are stacked on top of each other instead of interleaved. And it will, if it's going to go to a minimum state of energy, then it's going to change. It can't stay in this shape.
You can't explain the isotopes, and it has other problems. Even though it's a really neat thing that he did. I really admire his work, right? And he done a lot of good work. He wrote a terrific book, not terrific, a very good book, comparing all the models that are out there, and that's his true strength, I believe. And then he works on his own model, and he made the best model that's out there. We're trying to compete with him now. He knows that.